Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Bottle with me, your host, Angelica Nohra. I'm actually really excited today because I know there's a bunch of you at home who are actually going to be trying some of the wines that we have available today in the comfort of your own home. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully you enjoy the wine and hopefully, you see it the same way that I do. I want to really thank the team here at Studio 24/7 for allowing this to be possible, and I want to thank you for joining me. And for those who've actually joined us a few weeks in a row, I really think that people are enjoying it. If you are at home with those bottles of wine, please feel free to post your information, post what you feel about those wines. Post photos of yourself drinking them. Just let the world know that you're enjoying the wines here within the bottle today. So, today, we will be talking about one of the world's most popular grapes, that being Chardonnay, before we move on to a little Italian Sangiovese masterclass. I do admit there is quite a bit of information in this episode, so I do hope I don't overwhelm you, but just remember, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and the team here will let me know what they are towards the end or during, whatever. Now, let's grab a little glass of champagne for myself while we talk about Chardonnay. Chardonnay is made in a wide range of styles, from your lean, sparkling Blanc de Blanc to rich, creamy white wines aged in oak. It's usually quite dry. And what I'll be looking for today, and what I hope you see today in these Chardonnays that we try, are characters like green apple, pineapple, pear, lime, and other citrus characters. And then we want vanilla and butter and whatever else we can find in between. What I love about Chardonnay is that it's made in so many different styles, which means it can be enjoyed with, so many different foods, from a double cream brie to seafood to pasta to pâtés to pork and chicken, depending on the weight of that Chardonnay. But that being said, it is one of the great wines that people suggest is really made in the winery, as it really gets most of its hallmark tasting notes of butter, for instance, that vanilla characters and all that from the winemaking method. And as I said, it's exciting to know that so many of you are watching at home and have a couple of these wines that we are tasting today. So you'll finally be trying with me rather than me just drinking and talking at you, which is exciting. And obviously the wines that you do have, for the people that do have the wines at home, I'll obviously spend a little bit more time on those wines just to ensure that you're getting the same characters from the wine that I am. So who's ready to get started? I know I am. If you are drinking, please feel free to post it in the chat. Tell me what you're drinking, and the team here will let me know as well. I'm just going to get ahead of you. All right. We are starting with Henri Abelais, the third oldest champagne house of France, pioneer of the frozen disgorge method and the champagne that was once served on the Titanic. I have a funny story about this wine, actually. When I started importing Abelais, I did not know they had a Blanc de Blanc. We went to France to meet the supplier, and we went to a restaurant. They asked for a Blanc de Blanc and in French, and I was like, whose Blanc de Blanc are we drinking? Excited because I love Blanc de Blanc, and the export director was like, "It's ours." I was like, "What do you mean? We don't have a Blanc de Blanc." They're like, "No, we do." I was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" They're like, "You never asked." I'm like, that is such a French thing. I don't know. But yeah, when I found out I had to bring this in for myself, I am obsessed with Blanc de Blanc. If you see the word Blanc de Blanc on a champagne label, you're almost certainly drinking 100% Chardonnay. This particular Blanc de Blanc gets its grapes mainly from the Côte de Blanc, and it's aged 3 years in century-old cellars for this cuvée. Absolutely beautiful. So, let's have a look. Beautiful bubbles. I wish you could see that, but it's really subtle. To me, it's like a work of art, Let's have a look at the nose. So it's super subtle. But you've got lovely white flowers, hawthorn, acacia, but you're getting that beautiful creaminess that's coming through as well, and that comes from a malolactic fermentation. It smells deliciously bubbly. That's what it does. All right. Let's have a look how it tastes. Oh wow, the Chardonnay really expresses itself beautifully in this cuvée. It's really straightforward, plenty of finesse, plenty of freshness. It's very mineral. Very mineral, but you're getting all that buttery notes coming through. You're getting that beautiful, I know that white flower, when people say white flowers, It's like, have you ever even eaten a white flower? But that is what it tastes like. It's got this beautiful white flower freshness that's coming through, but the minerality is stunning. And obviously that minerality is coming from the soils that it comes from, that real chalky soil that you'll find in the Côte de Blanc. But I'm just loving, you can definitely tell there's malolactic fermentation used for this wine because you're getting this beautiful creaminess. And even though it's high in acid, you could see just as I sip it, we won't spit. It takes a couple of seconds, but that acid, it just keeps building in the mouth. And for those who don't remember, who have never joined us before, if you want to understand what acid is in the wine, it's when you drink it, you kind of tip your mouth forward, and if you feel like you're going to drool, that's acidity, right? So we're going to be playing with a lot of acidity today, definitely starting with this delicious little thing. This is only 7 grams of 7 grams of sugar as well. It's a very low sugar, so it's it's almost bone dry. Like, it's absolutely delicious. Lots of gorgeous fruit, crisp apples, but definitely more of that white flour. Really stunning. Delicious. All right. Now, we're going to move on to one of the wines that some of you have at home. I don't know who needs to hear this, but what we're going to do before I show you this wine is teach you how to open a bottle that has a cork. This is a big deal, guys. The amount of times I'm in a bottle shop and people buy a wine from me, it has a cork, and they'll come back a few minutes later and say they don't know how to open it is astonishing to me. So what I want you to do, I want you to go out and buy one of these. It's called a waiter's friend, okay? It looks like this, all right. I want you to buy one of these, not one of those corkscrews that with the little, I don't even know what those are. Don't buy one of those. So I want you to buy one of these. I want you to open it up. Sorry, I don't want you to open it up yet. I want you to open up the knife, this little knife. We're going to go underneath the lip here, and we're going to peel, and I swear there's so many sommeliers that are at home, they're going to be like, she's doing it wrong. We're going to scrape right around the foil and then just straight up so that you can simply take the foil off the bottle, okay? First step. Second step, open this up. Corkscrew into the cork. Okay, and yes, sommeliers, I'm holding it by the neck. Let me just hold it properly so I don't get in trouble. But we're going to screw it in, okay? So we have it like this. Now with these beautiful waiter's friends, we have 2 levels on the waiter's friends. So we're going to pull up on the first level, and then pull up on the second level. We pull it out, and we have a bottle of open wine. There we go. So I don't know who needed to hear that, but I'm sure some of you needed to hear that, okay? And don't tell me that I haven't taught you how to open up a bottle of wine with a cork. And seeing as most of the wines we're doing today have a cork, I thought that was a very important point. So this is one of the wines that you're trying at home. This is Andaluna from Argentina's Chardonnay, 2016 vintage, the Altitude. Why Andaluna? I love their story. They believe that there are 2 hemispheres of wine that come together, the earthly and the mythical, right? I think that's beautiful. The Andes, get it, Andes? It's the mountain that man knows and it cultivates in order to obtain the most perfect fruit, taking advantage of exceptional conditions of the land, the water, the high altitude climate. It's just very romantic, isn't it? But then there's the Luna. It's a space of inspiration and magic, essential for a great wine to be born. And I just think that is such a beautiful and stunning way to look at Argentinian wine because you do have this the mythicalness, if that's a word, of those mountains, of the Andes, you know. I also love that these wines are just absolutely stunning. They really are very small production. We're looking at altitude now. So this is how they make this is they manually select bunches and then they go into a natural yeast fermentation with 50% in a second use French oak barrel and 50% in stainless steel tanks. Why do they do second use oak barrel? It's because they don't want the flavor of oak to overpower the wine. They really want the Chardonnay to shine, okay? So that's why we're using a second use French oak. When we're going into a first use French oak, that's where you're getting those big vanilla and coconut and all those kind of flavors. All right. So once they harvest them, manually harvest them, they'll then rest it in the French oak barrels for 3 to 6 months. And then they'll store the bottles for a minimum of 4 months before it's released. So first thing I want you to do is have a look at the color. Actually, you can actually give it a little bit of a whirl in your glass. You'll see I'm using an Overture glass, a Riedel Overture. I just think it's one of the best glasses for every wine. Like it's just every day, if you're looking for a wine, a glass that can go with any wine, basically. You'll look at this, it's quite an oiliness. There's an oiliness to the legs, right? Very oily. And it's almost olive, like an olive yellow, like olive green kind of color, if you can see that in the appearance. When you see a wine, I guess a brand new wine, a brand new Chardonnay, it's, you might see that it's quite light in color. And as it's aging, so right now we're looking at a 2016, as it ages, the color changes and we're getting more into this beautiful olive color now, and it will eventually go a bit more yellow. Now let's have a look at the nose. Oof. So even though it is in French oak barrels, I'm sure a lot of you can agree that that smells oaky. You got those beautiful vanilla characters, but it's quite exquisite. You've still got tropical fruit, coconut, that nuttiness, those coconuts and those nuts, that's what's coming from the oak. But you're still getting that beautiful orange peel, lemon rind, all those beautiful characters that you expect from Chardonnay. Lots of tropical fruit. Like, I know, maybe because I'm eating a lot of pawpaw at the moment. I'm getting a lot of pawpaw out of this wine today, and I think it's just because I've been smelling so much pawpaw lately. It's so good when pawpaw's in season. Oh, love it. But yeah, lots of tropical fruit. But I'm getting like an almost, I don't know if you're seeing it at home, and feel free to post something in the chat, but like a herbal note, like quite a herbal, herbaceous, green kind of note. Like a dried herbal note. That's what I'm kind of getting from that nose as well. Can anyone see anything else? Or hopefully that's making sense to you? All right, let's give it a little bit of a whirl. Spat it all over myself. Great. Professional over here. Wow. So hopefully when I'm talking about that acidity earlier, you were listening and you could really feel that acidity, but it's very delicate. Makes it very fresh. Everything from the nose is definitely translating onto the palate, but can you agree that there is a lot of, like, even though it's second use oak barrels, there is so much vanilla coming through here. There's creaminess. But it's really smooth, and it's like the end, it just goes on and on. The finish is so long. This is actually a wine that could age for a lot longer. I thought it would be ready to drink now, but it's really beautiful. It's really structured. It's complex. Yeah, it's got beautiful acidity, but you're also getting that minerality. You're getting this gorgeous minerality. Sometimes I'll spit the wine, sometimes I'll drink it, because there's something on the finish that sort of comes through when you swallow. And one thing on the back of the palate I just got then was minerality. And when I say minerality, it's like, when you lick a pumice stone? Has anyone ever licked a pumice stone before? Don't recommend it. But it's, definitely like licking a pumice stone. That real mineral freshness, and that's definitely coming from the soils up in Tupungato. So I hope you enjoyed that little Argentine Chardonnay. One thing I am a little bit sad about is I don't have a Burgundy to show you today. But maybe one day I'll bring someone on the show that does Burgundies, and we can try some Chablis. That would be lovely. All right, so we're going to stay in the New World though. Thank you for those who joined along on that little Chardonnay journey. We're going to stay in the New World. We're going to move to the Robert Bowen Chardonnay. I had so many happy people talking to me last week after the Robert Bowen Pinot Noir. So I thought we'd better come and highlight the Chardonnay today. Stunning wine. Same vintage, ironically, didn't expect that. For those who don't know, Robert Bowen is a absolute legend. He's a WA winemaker. He was the chief winemaker at Hortons and Capel Vale. He really has helped to establish Western Australia's wine regions on the international map. For over 40 years, Rob has worked tirelessly to create, produce, and promote wines that champion the West Coast, and varying regions found there. So not just Margaret River, but Pemberton, which is where this is from as well. This little guy is whole bunch pressed. So for those who remember from last week, they basically harvest the grapes, they throw them in the barrel all together, like not in the barrel, both barrel and tank, but they'll throw them in, total, like it's just a whole bunch. It's fermented with wild yeast, so indigenous yeasts, and 50% is in brand new French oak barrels, which is normally for around 11 months. And it does go through a malolactic fermentation. Malolactic, what it basically does is just kind of rip off that acidity a little bit and make it a little bit more creamy. So there is this misconception sometimes when you taste a wine, they think, oh, it's buttery. That's from the oak. No, buttery, creamy, those kind of words will most likely be malolactic ferment. It makes it much more rich, yeah? All right, so you see the color again. Wow, it's like very similar, that olive, oily, green, yellow kind of color. Let's have a look. And then, whoa, oak. Yes, wow, delicious. And actually, I didn't realize, this is the H block. So this is actually from one single block as well, which is really exciting. Okay, so when I get past the oak, one thing I do like about Robert is that he uses oak as a vessel. He doesn't necessarily overpower a wine with the oak. Oh, but you're getting beautiful stone fruit. Butterscotch and cream, nutty, lazy. I feel that, like, even though it's got stone fruit, the freshness isn't there. Like it's now gone into that really rich. I can taste it in my mouth already. It's softened out. Like it's not this like. It's gone into more ripe stone fruit, but it's definitely creamy and butterscotchy. Oh. Let's have a look. Oh, it's tangy, super full-bodied. Wow, this is a wine that I would have with a meal. Like I could eat this with a steak dinner if I wanted to, really. You could really drink this with a meal. Wow. It is tangy, it's full-bodied, it's nutty, it's buttery, it's got all the right characters, everything that I'd expect from a WA Chardonnay. That is delicious and incredible value for money, actually. Like when you look at the Andaluna, you're looking around $35 on the shelf. This guy's about the same. Andaluna's great, beautiful wine, but the intensity and the richness of this is definitely more to the Australian palate, whereas the Andaluna's a little bit more softer and more complex. This one's got all that butteriness, all that tangy acidity, all that butterscotch and cream and all those kind of characters that I think a lot of Australians are really moving towards now. Going back to, I should say, because this was massive in the 80s, this kind of style. It's not oaky, it's buttery and it's creamy, and that is delicious. Great value for money. Don't have much of it left. Absolutely wonderful. Very happy with that. Have to take a cheeky sip. Yummy. Absolutely yummy. That's Robert Bowen, and that is the end of our little Chardonnay journey today. Before we move on to my favourite grape in the world, Sangiovese. Why do I love Sangiovese? Everyone always says, like, why Sangiovese? It's so boring. I disagree vehemently. Because Sangiovese is just a beautiful introduction to red wine for a lot of people. It's super easy to drink. It can be done back porch. It can be done, between back porch wine and with a meal and with a pizza. Like it's just so easy, right? It's just so easy. But I really wanted to take advantage of today to do a little masterclass in Sangiovese. And a few questions that I've had recently is about biodynamics and organics. So I thought it would be time now for a conversation about biodynamics. So that's why we bring and introduce Gwiri into today's journey. Okay, so biodynamics. The concept of biodynamics actually started in 1920 with an Austrian philosopher named Rudolf Steiner. You may know Steiner schools and all that kind of thing. It's making wine, or I shouldn't even say making wine. It's like viticulture made in a more holistic, homeopathic way. It's a more holistic manner of farming, and of course, that would include winemaking, right? And it is the oldest anti-chemical agricultural movement that predates the creation of organic farming by about 20 years, yeah? Biodynamics occur primarily in the vineyard before winemaking even happens. Biodynamic winemakers normally say they don't have to do anything to the wine. It's all about the vineyard, all about the vineyard. If your viticulturalist isn't doing the right thing, or if the if the circumstances aren't correct for the year, there's just no wine. All the various tasks from planting, pruning, harvesting, they're all regulated by a special biodynamic calendar. And the calendar was originally devised by the high priestesses of biodynamic, the high priestess of biodynamic, I should say, Maria Thun, or Thun. I know someone out there is going to tell me her name, how to say it properly. I've always known her as Maria Thun. It could be Maria Thun. Please, if you know, let me know. What she did was actually divide the days into 4 different categories. So you've got root days, you've got fruit days, you've got flower days, and you have leaf days. And each biodynamic calendar day coincides with one of the 4 classic elements of earth, fire, air, and water. That's been used ever since before Plato's era. It's funny because bringing a kind of spiritual element into winemaking, people don't even really think about that. But basically on the fruit day, that's the day that you want to harvest the grapes. On the root day, you want to prune the grapes. On the flower day, you want to leave the vineyard alone because let them do what they do. And then on the leaf days, they are the most ideal days for planting, for watering the plants, I should say. So you would never, for example, want to harvest on a leaf day because leaf days correlate with the element of water and you'd end up picking rotten, waterlogged grapes. Get it? So besides the biodynamic calendar, no chemicals or manufactured additives like a commercial yeast are allowed in biodynamic wine. Instead, wine growers, they make special compost preparations with natural ingredients that actually bolster their vineyards. So you'll know they use husks, like the husks of different animals and stuff. It's quite crazy. So now Tenuta Mara, which is the one we have here, they're from Emilia-Romagna and they are a biodynamic vineyard. They adhere to all of the laws that I've just mentioned. Even in terms of the winemaking, they will allow the wines to kind of ferment, and based on the moon, the pull of the moon, rather than having to plunge down on the wines, the pull of the moon will move the yeast through and help the fermentation process. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool process. I like it. I think it's cool. Maybe you think it's crazy, but yeah. You can visit Tenuta Mara and you can stay there, and it's really cool. They have Mozart that plays through the vineyards, and they have Gregorian chants that hum through the barrel room. It's all very romantic. Only 14,000 bottles of this wine are made. The grapes are manually selected before being put into vats around autumn, without managing any temperatures or adding any yeast. The must will just end the fermentation when it's ready, and they'll allow that maceration on the skins to continue for another month before the wine ages on its lees, which is on the yeast, on its fine yeast, for about 12 months in French oak barrels, and then it will move into a small concrete barrel to retain its freshness. If you remember from last week, I mentioned what concrete can do. It retains freshness, keeps that complexity of the fruit, and then it will lay down for a further 6 months in the bottle before we see it. This is where you can understand where biodynamic wines, this is where you can understand biodynamic wines. They're really done on the viticulture side rather than the winemaking side. As I said, everything is about the winery, about the vineyard. The winery doesn't do much. They just let the wine ferment, right? So let's have a look. So for those playing at home, I do hope you have your bottle of Sangiovese and you get a chance to try this with me. Let's have a look. So the colour, wow, really light, ruby red, not even ruby red, actually ruby red, yeah, but very light. You can see through, you can tell. What's the alcohol content? 13.5%, perfect food wine, just saying. Let's have a look at the nose. Does anyone have a pizza? Or a piece of charcuterie? So I'm getting roses. Does anyone get that rose petal, yeah? Like Turkish Delight, rose petal? Oh, that just pops out of the glass. Lots of cherry, like black cherry. Raspberries. It's got this earthiness to it as well. You can really taste the earth that it comes from. And sweet spices like ginger, like salted ginger. And there's something else. There's something else there, sweet spice, if you can smell it. For those who are better cooks than me, because I can't cook. But yeah, lots of raspberries, lots of blackberries, lots of black cherries. It's a really, textbook Sangiovese, really. Like, it's delightful. Let's have a look at let's give it a whirl. Wow, this is fresh. For those playing at home, maybe we should have left this one for another 6 months. No, it's delightful. It's super fresh. It's delicate. It's soft. It's got very nuanced tannins. What are tannins, for those that don't know? So you know that acidity. So that acidity is where you tip your mouth forward, your mouth wants to water. See how it feels like even though your mouth wants to water, it just sucks it back up? Can you feel that? That is tannin. That dryness in the mouth, that is delightful, and it's soft, and it's like, it just really envelops the whole mouth. It's perfectly balanced. You know, I'm getting a lot of menthol. Does anyone else get menthol on this? I'm getting menthol, a lot of menthol, but I think that will wear off in 6 months' time. This is beautiful. For something that's such small production, 14,000 bottles, you know, you are looking $50 to $60 a bottle on this, but, you know, no headaches, no hangovers tomorrow. There's no sulfites used. It's 100% biodynamic. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it's just landed, this vintage, and I think another 6 months. Not that it will last that long. This is one of my most popular wines. So yeah, that is delicious. So that's to Nohra, and I hope you understand. I know that was a lot of information about biodynamics, guys. I know it was, but I do hope you learned something about that. So now we're moving on to one of my favorite producers. He might be watching today. If you are, hello, Massimo Sensi. We are moving on to Sensi, who is the #1 Chianti producer in Italy. But he's actually he has the most Sangiovese under vine of anyone in Tuscany, yeah? So that's why I absolutely love Sensi. He's all about exploring different regions and what Sangiovese can do in different regions. Their mission really is to communicate production philosophy through their wine, you know, based on elegance and balanced sensations, clean flavors, consistent quality. Excuse me, so much acid. And being the largest Sangiovese producer in Tuscany, he does like to highlight Sangiovese from all over the region. Which brings me to one thing that I think is textbook. This is the Pretorio Morellino di Scanzano. Pretorio, named after Massimo Sensi's grandfather, I hope I'm saying that right. He'll correct me. But yeah, massive award winner, particularly from Luca Marone, you know, to Decanter, to Mundos Vini. Like, this is a big award-winning Sangiovese. So Morellino, what I like to say about the Italians is that if they have their town, they want a wine to be named after their town. Oh, Massimo, you're on. Hello, I'm so glad. That's exciting. So, so the Italians love to own something, right? So if the Sangiovese is from their town, they're going to name it after what they want to name it from. So this is from a town called Scanzano. Morellino, from the town of Scanzano, which is 100% Sangiovese. It's on the south coast of Tuscany, and it's where the ancient Etruscan people built their civilization. And this wonderful red wine, it really honors the precious origins of that. Now, let's have a look at the color. Like, compared to the last one, it is deep ruby red, yeah? And it's just, yeah, it looks impressive. Let's have a look at the nose. Oh, and just on the nose, like, it's big. It's got that, what year? 2017. Wow, it's looking very good already. Lots of dried herbs, lots of dried herbal notes. But you're also getting like red fruit, like the cherry that I expect. Like, I would say this is also a textbook Sangiovese, yeah? Cherries on the nose. But you're also getting violets and minerality on the nose as well. Like, what I mentioned about that pumice stone earlier, I'm actually getting that in the nose for this Sangiovese. And it's already starting to get those beautiful leathery notes coming through now, which I love. I love them. All right, let's have a whirl. Can someone please bring me like beef stew or something for that? Wow. One thing I do love about the Sensi wines is that they are textbook perfect. When you know Sangiovese, you want it to have high acid and high tannin, and it's so well balanced that you can't even taste them. You know, like, people who say, why do I feel like I need to drink again? That's the acidity, but it's It just dries up so it doesn't feel flabby or anything. Like it's beautiful, crisp acidity. The fruits definitely come through. It's that beautiful cherry, but lots of those dried herbs. I wish I was a better chef so that I could tell you what those dried herbs are. I just know that they're dried herbs. I'm definitely one of those people that buy the mixed herb packets, and that's what it smells like and tastes like. It will be beautiful with anything that you're eating. Absolutely stunning wine. I just love that minerality on the palate as well. It's just enveloping. Like it's wrapping like around my mouth. Like it's absolutely stunning. But you're also getting this floral violet note coming through, which is delicious. Delicious. That is a must try. If you haven't tried Morellino di Scanzano, and the best thing about these is that this is a wine that's normally shown in restaurants. We don't get to sell it to bottle shops. So by seeing it today, it's like I would never be able to stand in a bottle shop and share this wine with you. So it's exciting. So, looking around $35 to $40 retail for this. Absolutely stunning wine. Highly recommend it from a very famous wine region in Tuscany. All right. Sticking to Sensi, because as I said, we're doing an Italian masterclass. We're going to move on to the Mandriano, another one of my absolute favorites. Look, let's face it, I'm only doing these because I'm loving all the wines, right? So, what's special about this? This is from the region of Maremma, which is very close. So, Scanzano, Maremma, Bolgheri, they're all very, very close to each other. It's right near the seaside, so very typical Mediterranean climate condition, which makes it possible to create or to produce this Maremma Sangiovese. This is a region where back in the 80s, the rebel winemakers, I guess, went. They all went there and they were sick of making Chianti and they were like, we're going to plant Cabernets and Merlots because the soil there is very similar to Bordeaux. So they thought, you know what, don't worry about it. We're not going to listen to the wine authorities anymore. We're just going to go do what we want to do. So they went, started planting, and then wines from this region started winning awards in Bordeaux wine competitions, or wine competitions that they weren't supposed to win awards for. So the worst thing was that the wine authorities in Italy, this was labelled as a table wine because it didn't adhere to any of the laws. So this was a table wine. This region is so protected now because of the production of wine, because of how beautiful the wines are. And, it is an expression of the winemaker's passion as well. It is now protected. So you'll see that this region has DOC. So, I wish I could say it properly. Denominazione di origine controllata. So it is protected, which means the yields are protected. They can't just make too much wine. They want to protect the quality. The lower the yields, the higher the quality of the wine, okay? That's very important for you to know. So let's have a look at it. So it is deep red, very similar to, like a little bit more red compared to the Morellino, which is interesting because it is a year younger. It's 2018 vintage. Whew, yes. It's amazing, You can have two wines from the same similar region and the terroir really makes a difference, hey? Like, this is just bright. It's bright cherry, forest floor. Oh, blackberries as well coming through. But it's really spicy. Massimo can tell me, has seen oak? I think it's definitely seen oak, just a little bit of oak. But again, just as a vessel, oh my goodness me. Oh wow. So you're getting all those beautiful cherry notes. It's structured. I can chew on those tannins. Amazing. But one thing that's really interesting with this is if you can think of balsamic vinegar, the texture of balsamic vinegar in your mouth, that's what you're getting. So even though you're getting all those cherries and forest floor and the spices and everything, I'm really getting this like balsamic note coming through, this oiliness in my mouth. But it's absolutely delicious. It's so fun to try this wine again. I haven't tried it for a while and it is delicious. Oh, definitely need some red meat with that or, some cheeses, like get me some Parmesan, like, a Grana Padano or a Pecorino Romano. Get me one of those with this. This is delicious. Definitely not a back porch wine. It's got way too much body for that. But for those people who think that Sangiovese is not full-bodied, I mean, it's not full-bodied, but this is this is a decent amount of body in this wine. But those tannins, where are my Sangiovese lovers? I hope I have some Sangiovese lovers on the line because these are stunning. Oh, but we've come to the last wine for today, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Guys, if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. I want to see later when I can go back onto the internet, I can have a look at what wines you're drinking. I want to see photos of you drinking the wines. For those at home, those of you at home who have the wines, please feel free to share your opinion on the wines as well. And also, my team should be there, posting links to all of these wines if you want any more information about them at the Direct Wine Cellars website. I'm getting nods. That means you are. Thank you. This brings me to my last wine, which I'm really sad about, but I'm really excited about because this, not only is that the heaviest bottle I've ever picked up in my entire life, need to definitely do more bicep curls while in isolation. This is the Colagonzi from Calapiano. The Fattoria di Calapiano is an old Medici farmhouse built around 1500 and is now owned by Sensi. This Colagonzi wine is actually their flagship of the company. It's taken years. This is the result. This wine is the result of 10 years of research on varieties of Sangiovese clones to reach extreme quality and purity. That's what they want from this wine. Let's have a look at it. All right, so the soils in this area, wow, it's 15% alcohol and it's a 2015 vintage. Whew, we're in for a good night, I reckon, with this one. The soils around here are very rich in seashells and marine fossils, yeah? So one thing I'm going to be looking for in this wine is minerality. That's one thing I'm going to be looking for. But let's have a little sniffy sniff. Oh, yeah. So fresh. Ooh, so because the soil is rich in those minerals, the vines have to go really deep in, and it brings out this beautiful vibrancy to the Sangiovese. So compared to the previous one, like the previous wines, they're more dark, earthy, kind of, forest floor, dark cherry, that kind of thing. Whereas this one is much more vibrant, much more lighter, fruitier, cherry, very complex on the nose, actually. So I'm just going to take a moment with this because it has all those beautiful leathery characters now coming through from the age. But this is a wine that's going to last forever because that cherry is so vibrant. Like, it's just popping, yeah? Okay, let's have a look. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Beautiful expression of Sangiovese. Wow, that acid. Wow, okay, so that's an amazing wine. The acid is absolutely perfect on that. The tannin comes in right, you get this, it takes a moment, so you get all this beautiful cherry, you get this this dried herb, you get this forest floor kind of character coming through, this leathery character coming through. Then the acid just kind of refreshes the palate before the tannin makes you feel like you're ready to drink again. It's really, really cool. This is a perfect Sangiovese. Just in terms of the finish as well, like it's beautiful and long, it's got high tannin, it's got high acid, it's got beautiful cherry fruits, it's got that leather character, it's got beautiful oaky characters coming through, but something tells me that this has been aged in concrete as well, simply because of the vibrancy of that cherry note. It's not overpowered by oak, there's definitely some oak there, some of that vanilla character there, but definitely like a lot of that herbaceous note, but the finish is long. The finish is stunning. I would love to try that in another 5 years' time. Really beautiful. I'm not a massive person on awards. I just think, anyone can win an award for anything. But this has won gold medals at the Berliner Wine Trophy, 92 points by Dr. Wine, 93 points by Luca Moroni. It gets 2 red glasses by, the James Halliday book of Italy, which is called Gambetta Rosso. The 2 red glasses, and I understand why. If you aren't someone who understands Sangiovese, this is a very good but also very bad place to start, because Sangiovese comes in all different forms, from light and fruity, the biodynamics, very easy, unfiltered, unfined kind of things, up into this, which is rich and it's complex. And when people tell me that Sangiovese isn't their type of wine because it's too soft, I'm like, this is what Sangiovese can do. Like, if you're willing to pay $60 a bottle for something, like, this is what it can do. And this is stunning. And this is also what happens when you have low yield. It is just so vibrant and so much, it dances in your mouth. Yeah, like it really dances in your mouth. Stunning wine. We aren't tipping that today, just for the record. But I do have some questions. Oh, wow. Ironically, we have a couple of questions on the board. Is a bad move to chill red wine? Or, what are your thoughts on drinking red wines chilled? First and foremost, I'm going to say that wine is subjective. Everything that I've just told you about all of the wines that we've had today, you might look at it and go, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even see that. I smell grapes. Point of it is wine is subjective. I believe that you should be at least drinking good wine. If you need to chill down your red wine to enjoy it, just do it. It does change the flavors a lot, but if it's what you need to do in order to enjoy it and get your palate used to the kind of flavors, to get used to the tannin and that kind of thing, go for it. And the lighter the alcohol in the wine, the better. So, Sangioveses, Chiantis, Pinot Noirs. But when I say chill it, I think people have this misconception in Australia about, room temperature. Room temperature in Australia is too hot. Yeah? So you can chill those wines down to 16 to 18 degrees, okay? So feel free to do it. Again, just until you get to a point where you can drink red wines without worrying about tannin and acid. It will change it. It will definitely change it. It'll tighten up all those flavors. All those oak characters will kind of go away. But maybe if you're just getting used to those characters, it's a good idea. I don't do it. I hardly even chill my white wines. So that's me. Thank you for the questions, though. Never thought of Argentina for wine. Thank you, Matthew. So Matthew's one of our guests that are trying the Argentinian wine. Argentina's fantastic for wine. It's very much similar in latitude to Australia and New Zealand, so why not? What are the varietals from this region? Obviously Malbec. And do they have cellar doors? Yes, they do. You can actually visit Andaluna. Go for it. Tim Atkin, who's a very big MW and wine writer, he does... he does a lot of tours to Andaluna. Beautiful family-owned estate. It's a magical place. I think they should go glamping. They should do glamping there because, to be in the Andes and everything would be so nice. So thank you for the question. And Jeremy, thank you. Do you have a favorite country for wine? I'm not going to fall for that one. Look, I will admit I learnt wine based on Italian wine. So Italy will always have a soft spot in my heart. I love Italian wine. I think that they can do anything. There's 1,300 wine varietals. 3,300 varietals that grow in Italy. I love the softness. I'm an everyday drinker, so I don't want anything too high in alcohol. And Italians, they match wine for food. So, the wines are all very light, easy drinking, nothing pretentious. So thank you for the question, but I'm not falling for that one. I do love champagne as well, you know that, and I do love Australian wine. I'm just very picky about what I drink simply because of alcohol content and oak. I'm not a massive oak fiend as some people are. So thank you so much. To those people who were drinking the wines with me at home, please let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy them? Were they what you would have expected? Was it something different for you? Please let me know. I'll be back online very shortly to answer any questions that you have if you were too shy to post them or whether Nick missed them. Thank you, Nick. But yeah, guys, I want to really thank you for joining me today. I want to thank the team here at Studio 24/7. I really love Chardonnay and I really love Sangiovese, and it's absolutely my pleasure to bring them to you today. We'll be back here next week. I'm actually thinking of bringing a guest on next week. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see some guests come and join me in the bottle to try something a little bit different. And we'll also be playing a little bit more on this whole, get a couple of wines sent to you. So share this with your friends. Let them know. I want you going over to your friends' houses, ordering from your favorite restaurant, sitting with me and drinking wines together. You can watch this on replay. But until next week, thank you so much. This has been In the Bottle with Angelica. We'll see you next week.